My dear brothers and sisters, today I want you to listen carefully and deeply because many people misunderstand the love of Allah. They believe Allah's love must always look like ease, comfort, wealth, popularity, and emotional security. But this is not how Allah raises His servants. Allah's love is not always gentle on the surface, but it is always merciful in its purpose. When Allah truly loves someone, He does not allow them to remain attached to illusions, distractions, or false comforts that slowly destroy the heart. Instead, He shapes them through experiences that wake them up, strengthen their reliance on Him, and detach them from the world so they never lose their connection with their Creator. Satu, Allah removed people you love deeply. One of the strongest and most painful signs that Allah loves you more than the world ever could is that He removed people from your life whom you genuinely loved, trusted, and relied on emotionally, because Allah never removes something precious without a reason rooted in mercy, even when it feels cruel at first. This removal was not a punishment, and it was not because you were unworthy of love or incapable of maintaining relationships, but because Allah saw that these attachments were quietly costing you something far greater than companionship, which was your peace, your growth, and sometimes even your connection with Him. Allah sees the unseen future of relationships, the long-term impact of people on your heart, and the subtle ways certain individuals slowly drain your emotional strength, normalize unhealthy behavior, weaken your iman, or make you forget who you are meant to become, even when you are too emotionally attached to recognize the damage yourself. When Allah removes someone you deeply cared for, the pain feels overwhelming, because you are not just losing a person, you are losing routines, expectations, shared dreams, and emotional safety. But that pain is not proof of rejection, it is proof of protection disguised as loss. Allah, in His wisdom, sometimes closes doors you are desperately holding open because He knows what lies behind them would slowly destroy you. At the time of separation, your heart resists, your mind questions, and your soul aches. Yet Allah remains gentle with you, allowing you to grieve while quietly guiding you towards something better. Over time, when the dust settles and your emotions soften, you begin to notice changes within yourself that you could not see before, such as your prayers becoming more sincere, your dependence shifting away from people and toward Allah, and your understanding of life becoming clearer and more grounded. You start to realize that while those people were present, your heart was divided, your focus was scattered, and your peace was conditional. But after their departure, even though the loneliness was heavy, your connection with Allah became deeper and more honest. This transformation does not happen by accident, nor is it a coincidence of time healing wounds, but rather it is Allah actively redirecting your heart toward what is healthier for your soul and safer for your akhirah. Allah sometimes removes people not because they are evil, but because they are no longer aligned with the person Allah is shaping you to become, and holding on to them would delay your growth, weaken your spirit, or keep you stuck in a version of yourself that Allah never intended you to remain in. When you look back with maturity and faith, you often realize that losing them saved you from losing yourself, and that what felt like a heartbreaking ending was actually Allah opening a new chapter where your heart could breathe, your iman could strengthen, and your reliance on Allah could finally become complete. That is why this loss, as painful as it is, stands as one of the clearest signs that Allah's love is working quietly in your life, guiding you away from harm, even when you cannot yet understand the wisdom behind it. 2. Allah made you feel alone, even when surrounded by people. One of the most confusing yet powerful signs that Allah loves you more than the world ever could is when He allows you to feel alone even while being surrounded by people, because this type of loneliness is not meant to punish you, but to awaken your heart to a deeper truth. You may be sitting among family, friends, co-workers, or even people who care about you, yet still feel misunderstood, emotionally disconnected, or empty inside. And this feeling makes you question why no one truly seems to understand you. Allah allows this loneliness not because you are unlovable, but because He wants to gently detach your heart from depending on people for emotional fulfillment and reattach it to Him alone, where true peace actually exists. When Allah creates this distance between your heart and others, He is teaching you that human beings, no matter how kind or sincere, are limited, inconsistent, and unable to carry the full weight of your inner struggles. People may listen but not truly hear, may care but not fully understand, and may support you for a time but not always stay. And Allah allows you to experience this reality so that you stop expecting from creation what only the Creator can give. In this loneliness, your heart slowly learns to sit quietly, to reflect deeply, and to speak to Allah honestly, instead of relying on constant distraction, validation, or noise to feel okay. At first, this loneliness feels heavy and uncomfortable because it removes the emotional crutches you once leaned on, but over time it begins to shape you into someone stronger and more aware. You start to notice that your conversations with Allah become more real, your prayers become more heartfelt, and your reliance on Him becomes more natural rather than forced. You begin to understand that being surrounded by people does not guarantee peace, and that peace is not found in being understood by everyone, but in being fully known by Allah. This solitude teaches you emotional independence, spiritual depth, and inner stability, qualities that cannot be developed when a person is constantly surrounded by attention and reassurance. Allah knows that some hearts are chosen to grow through silence rather than companionship, through reflection rather than distraction, and through inner work rather than external approval. While others are busy chasing connection, Allah is quietly building your strength, teaching you patience, and preparing you for a level of closeness with Him that many people never experience. When you finally reach a point where you feel calm in your own presence and comforted by Allah alone, you realize that the loneliness you once feared was actually a gift that refined your soul and redirected your heart toward its true source of peace. This kind of loneliness is not abandonment, but divine focus. And if Allah has allowed you to walk through it, then it is because He trusts you with a deeper relationship with Him and a stronger version of yourself that could not have been formed any other way. 3. Allah tests you repeatedly but never lets you break. One of the clearest and most misunderstood signs that Allah loves you more than the world ever could is that He tests you again and again, yet never allows you to completely break, because Allah does not test to destroy, He tests to refine, awaken, and elevate the believer. When you look at your life honestly, you may notice that hardship did not come once and leave, but arrived in waves, sometimes just when you thought you had finally caught your breath. These repeated trials make you wonder why life feels heavier for you than for others, why your path seems harder, and why ease feels delayed. But Allah never sends difficulty without purpose, and never places a burden without already placing the strength to carry it inside your heart. Allah knows the limits of every soul because He created them, and when He allows repeated tests, it is not because He is ignoring your pain, but because He sees a depth, resilience, and potential in you that cannot be unlocked through comfort alone. Each hardship strips away illusions, weak dependencies, and false confidence, slowly replacing them with patience, humility, and reliance on Allah. You may feel exhausted, emotionally drained, and spiritually tested, yet despite all of this, you still wake up, still turn toward Allah, and still carry hope within you, even if that hope feels fragile at times. That continuation is not your own strength alone. It is Allah sustaining you quietly from within, holding you together when you feel like you are falling apart. What makes this sign powerful is not that you never feel pain, But that pain never completely disconnects you from Allah. You cry, but you still pray. You struggle, but you still remember Allah. You feel overwhelmed, but you do not abandon your faith. This balance between pain and perseverance is not accidental. It is divine preservation. Allah allows the test to touch your heart, but He protects your iman from collapsing under its weight. While others may be tested once and lose themselves completely, Allah keeps you within His care, even while allowing the hardship to shape you. Over time, these repeated tests begin to change you in ways you could not have imagined. Your priorities shift, your patience deepens, and your understanding of life matures. You stop chasing quick comfort and begin valuing inner stability. You stop asking only for ease and begin asking for strength, clarity, and closeness to Allah. This transformation is slow and often painful, but it builds a believer who is grounded, self-aware, and spiritually strong, someone who can stand firm when life shakes others. Allah does not give this kind of training to every soul, because not every soul is meant to carry this level of responsibility, growth, and closeness to Him. When you reflect on everything you have survived, everything that tried to break you but did not, and everything that pushed you closer to Allah rather than away from Him, you begin to realize that these repeated tests were never meant to crush you. They were meant to carve out a stronger heart, a deeper faith, and a version of you that trusts Allah even when answers are delayed. That is why this ongoing struggle, as heavy as it feels, is one of the strongest signs that Allah's love is active in your life, shaping you patiently and protecting you carefully until you become who He always knew you could be. 4. Allah made you sensitive to sin and distance from Him. One of the most beautiful yet challenging signs that Allah loves you more than the world ever could is that He made your heart sensitive to sin and uncomfortable with distance from Him, because Allah does not allow the hearts He loves to become numb, careless, or spiritually asleep. When Allah loves a servant, He protects their heart from becoming hardened by disobedience and instead allows them to feel discomfort when they drift away from Him. You may notice that actions which once felt ordinary now feel heavy. Conversations that normalize wrongdoing no longer sit well with you, and moments spent away from Allah feel empty rather than enjoyable. And this shift can be confusing at first because it makes life feel more restrictive. But in reality, it is Allah narrowing your path so you do not get lost. This sensitivity is not meant to shame you or crush you with guilt, but to guide you gently back whenever you begin to drift. Allah, in His mercy, allows your heart to feel uneasy after sin so that you do not remain trapped in it. And this unease is a sign that your iman is alive and protected. Many people continue in wrongdoing without feeling anything at all, laughing, sleeping, and living comfortably despite being far from Allah. But this numbness is far more dangerous than pain, because it means the heart no longer recognizes its distance from its Creator. When you feel restless after disobedience and peaceful only when you remember Allah, it is because Allah refuses to let your heart be satisfied with anything that harms it. This spiritual sensitivity often grows stronger after hardship, loss, or moments of deep reflection, because Allah uses life experiences to soften your heart and make it more aware of His presence. You begin to notice that even small sins disturb your inner peace, that delaying prayer feels heavier than before, and that worldly distractions lose their sweetness when they pull you away from Allah. While this awareness can feel burdensome at times, it is actually a form of protection, because Allah is training your heart to recognize what nourishes it and what poisons it. Just as physical pain warns the body of harm, this spiritual discomfort warns the soul of danger. Over time, this sensitivity shapes you into someone who becomes more mindful, intentional, and cautious with their choices, not out of fear alone, but out of love and awareness. You begin to seek environments, relationships, and habits that bring you closer to Allah, because your heart can no longer tolerate spiritual emptiness. This transformation is not sudden but gradual, and it reflects Allah's continuous care over your iman, guarding it from decay and guiding it toward growth. When Allah allows you to feel the weight of distance from Him, it is not because He is pushing you away, but because He is pulling you closer, reminding you where your heart truly belongs. If Allah had not loved you, He would have allowed you to sin freely without concern, to drift without reminders, and to feel comfortable in spiritual emptiness. But the fact that your heart aches when it moves away from Him is proof that Allah is actively protecting your soul. This sensitivity, as heavy as it may feel, is a sign of divine closeness, and it is Allah's way of ensuring that no matter how far you wander, your heart will always recognize the path back to Him. 5. Allah gave you a private and personal relationship with Him. One of the most powerful signs that Allah loves you more than the world ever could is that He has given you a private and deeply personal relationship with Him, one that does not rely on public recognition, validation from people, or outward displays of faith. When Allah loves a servant, He often draws them closer in ways that are quiet and unseen, allowing their strongest moments of connection to happen in solitude rather than in front of an audience. You may notice that your most sincere prayers are offered when no one is watching, that your tears fall in the silence of the night, and that your most honest conversations with Allah happen away from the noise of the world. And this is not a sign of weakness or isolation, but a sign of sincerity that Allah values greatly. This private relationship with Allah is built through moments of struggle, reflection, and inner honesty, where you speak to Allah not with perfect words, but with a truthful heart. You turn to Him not because people are watching, but because you genuinely need Him, and this sincerity strengthens your iman in a way that public attention never could. Allah loves the servant who seeks Him quietly, who remembers Him when no one is praising them, and who worships Him not for approval, but because their heart feels restless without Him. This type of connection forms slowly, often during periods of loneliness, hardship, or confusion, when there is no one else to rely on and no distractions left to hide behind. As this private bond with Allah deepens, you begin to experience a sense of inner stability that does not depend on external circumstances. Your faith becomes less about appearances and more about presence, less about being seen and more about being sincere. You may find that you are less interested in explaining your struggles to people and more comfortable placing them directly in Allah's hands. This shift does not make you distant from others, but it makes you grounded within yourself, because your emotional center is no longer dependent on human reassurance. Allah uses this private relationship to build resilience, humility, and emotional maturity within you, qualities that cannot be developed through public validation. Over time, you begin to realize that this quiet connection with Allah is what carried you through moments that could have broken you. When no one understood your pain, Allah listened. When no one could offer solutions, Allah gave you patience. When the world felt overwhelming, Allah gave you moments of calm that only you and Him shared. This unseen support becomes the foundation of your strength, even if others never recognize it. And Allah knows every tear you shed, every dua you whispered, and every moment you chose Him over despair. If Allah had not loved you, He would have left your faith dependent on people, attention, and external reassurance. But instead, He anchored it within your heart, where it could grow quietly and steadily. This private relationship is not meant to isolate you from the world, but to protect you from being consumed by it, ensuring that no matter what happens around you, you remain connected to the One who never leaves. That quiet closeness, as unseen as it may be, is one of the clearest signs that Allah's love is active in your life, shaping you gently and guarding your iman with care. 6. Allah keeps calling you back again and again. One of the most reassuring and powerful signs that Allah loves you more than the world ever could is that no matter how many times you struggle, fall short, or drift away, Allah keeps calling you back to Him again and again, because Allah does not give up on the hearts He loves. You may look at your past and feel regret over mistakes you repeated, prayers you delayed, or moments when your faith felt weak. Yet despite all of this, you still find reminders reaching you, emotions stirring your heart, and moments arriving that gently pull you back toward Allah. This is not coincidence, and it is not habit, but divine mercy actively working in your life. When Allah loves a servant, He does not allow them to remain lost without guidance. He sends reminders in subtle ways, sometimes through a verse that suddenly touches your heart, sometimes through a lecture you did not plan to hear, sometimes through a hardship that wakes you up, and sometimes through an inner realization that makes you pause and reflect. Even when you try to move away, Allah quietly places signs along your path that redirect you back to Him, not by force, but through awareness. This repeated return is not proof that you are weak, but proof that Allah sees sincerity beneath your struggle and refuses to let your heart be taken by heedlessness. You may feel frustrated with yourself for falling into the same patterns, but Allah looks beyond the fall and sees your intention to return. Each time you turn back to Him, even if it feels imperfect, Allah welcomes you with mercy because He values effort over perfection. If Allah wanted to abandon you, He would leave you comfortable in sin, uninterested in repentance, and disconnected from reminders. But instead, He keeps your heart sensitive, aware, and responsive, even when your actions are inconsistent. This persistence of guidance is one of the greatest forms of love, because it shows that Allah still wants you close, still wants you aware, and still wants you striving. Over time, these repeated calls back to Allah shape your character and deepen your humility. You stop relying on your own strength and begin to rely more on Allah's mercy. You stop assuming that guidance is something you earn once and keep forever, and instead understand that it is something Allah renews for you continuously. This realization softens your heart, increases your gratitude, and strengthens your connection with Allah, because you begin to see that every return was made possible not by your own effort alone, but by Allah opening the door again and again. Eventually, you realize that your journey was never about being flawless, but about never being abandoned. Each reminder, each moment of regret, and each return to Allah was part of a larger process of growth, awareness, and closeness. Allah was not watching you from a distance. He was guiding you patiently, even when you did not realize it. That constant calling back, no matter how many times you wandered, is one of the clearest signs that Allah's love has been surrounding you all along, protecting your heart, preserving your iman, and guiding you toward Him with mercy that never runs out. 7. Allah gives you inner peace even when life is chaotic. One of the most subtle yet undeniable signs that Allah loves you more than the world ever could is that despite everything happening around you, He places moments of inner peace inside your heart that cannot be explained by circumstances alone. Your life may be unstable, your future uncertain, and your problems unresolved. Yet there are times when your heart feels calm in a way that does not make sense logically. This peace does not come from having answers, control, or certainty, but from Allah anchoring your heart to Him so that it does not collapse under the weight of the world. Allah grants this kind of peace only to those whose hearts He is actively protecting. This inner calm often appears in the middle of hardship, not after it ends, which is what makes it so powerful. While others panic, overthink, or break down when life becomes difficult, you find yourself able to breathe, reflect, and continue forward, even if fear still exists. This does not mean you do not feel pain or worry, but it means those emotions no longer control you completely. Allah gives you the ability to feel deeply without being destroyed by what you feel, and this balance is a form of mercy that many people never experience. It is Allah reminding you that as long as He is with you, nothing else has the power to completely undo you. Over time, you begin to notice that this peace does not come from people reassuring you, money improving your situation, or problems disappearing, but from trusting Allah even when outcomes remain unclear. You learn to place your worries in Allah's hands rather than carrying them alone, and this surrender lightens your heart even if your situation stays the same. This peace teaches you that safety is not found in control, but in trust, and that true stability comes from knowing that Allah is managing what you cannot. The world cannot offer this kind of peace because the world itself is unstable, but Allah places tranquility in the hearts of those who rely on Him sincerely. This inner peace also changes the way you view life and hardship. Instead of constantly asking why things are happening to you, you begin asking what Allah is teaching you through them. You stop rushing outcomes and start accepting divine timing, knowing that what is meant for you will reach you, and what is not will never harm you by missing you. This mindset does not make you passive or careless, but grounded and patient, allowing you to move forward with faith rather than fear. Allah uses this peace to protect your heart from despair and to remind you that you are never facing life alone. If Allah had not loved you, He would have left your heart restless, anxious, and constantly searching for reassurance in the world, but instead, He gave you moments of calm that draw you closer to Him and strengthen your trust in His plan. This peace is not permanent comfort, but timely reassurance, arriving exactly when you need it most. When you recognize this quiet stability within yourself, even in the middle of chaos, understand that it is one of the clearest signs that Allah's love is surrounding you, holding your heart steady and guiding you gently through every storm. My dear brothers and sisters, when you step back and look at your life through the lens of faith rather than pain, you begin to understand that what you once thought were losses were actually protections, what you once believed were punishments were actually preparations, and what you once feared were endings were often Allah quietly guiding you towards something far better. Allah's love does not always appear in the form of ease, comfort, or applause from people, because if Allah gave His servants everything they desired in this world, many hearts would forget Him completely. Instead, Allah chooses certain souls and teaches them through depth, through separation, through silence, and through patience, because He knows those hearts are capable of carrying something greater. If Allah removed people you loved, allowed you to feel alone, tested you repeatedly, made your heart sensitive to sin, gave you a private relationship with Him, kept calling you back despite your mistakes, and placed peace within you even during chaos, then understand clearly that you were never abandoned. You were being shaped. You were being protected. You were being drawn closer in ways that comfort could never achieve. The world often loves loudly but leaves quickly, while Allah loves quietly and stays forever, guiding you even when you cannot see the path ahead. Many people spend their lives chasing validation, security, and belonging in the world, only to feel emptier with time. But Allah chose to teach you early that peace does not live in people, situations, or outcomes, but in trust, surrender, and closeness to Him. That is why your journey feels different, heavier, and sometimes lonelier, because Allah is building depth where others only seek distraction. Your struggles were not meant to break you, but to remove false dependencies, awaken your heart, and anchor your soul to something eternal. If at any point you doubted yourself, your worth, or your direction, remember that Allah does not invest this level of care into a heart He does not love. Every tear you shed was seen, every dua you whispered was heard, and every moment you felt lost was met with guidance you may not have recognized at the time. Allah was never distant. He was working quietly, patiently, and precisely, shaping you into someone whose strength comes from faith rather than circumstance. So if the world turned away from you, but Allah kept pulling you closer, then you were not rejected. You were chosen. If your path feels narrow while others seem comfortable, it is because Allah is leading you somewhere safe. Trust His timing, trust His wisdom, and trust that nothing you lost was ever meant to destroy you. What Allah removes, He replaces with something better, and what He delays, He protects with purpose. May Allah keep our hearts firm, soften them with remembrance, and grant us contentment in every state. And may He make us among those who recognize His love, even when it comes disguised as hardship. Ameen.